Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. It is Friday, September 27th. I'm glad you found me. I'm glad you're here. So this is the thing, right? Light workers are supposed to be full of light, and they're supposed to embrace the good, and they're supposed to, sort of live to a higher standard. And that's all good. Except at the bottom of it all, I want to know what the hell's going on in that White House. I want to know what's going on in the Trump, residence. Because really, don't we all? All right. So we're going to do a bit of a gossipy reading today because you know what? It's Friday and it's time to take a bit of a breather after the insanity of this week. So let's check out the insanity of the Trump residence and the Trump White House, because I'm sure it's a lot of things there, but probably not Zen. Okay, come on down. So what we're looking at is Trump residence, White House, Trump residence, White House, Trump residence, White House. And part of the reason that I'm including the residence is because, there's kind of some concern. Melania was looking a little bit more guarded and angry at the UN than I think I've seen her in a little bit of time. So I want to just see what's going on there. So let's take a look at Trump residence and White House. Okay. So what we have here is just a general overview. So what they're talking about here is that sense of Trump and his team are still trying to strategize how to get away with something, how to manipulate the information, how to send out a bunch of messages so things get confused, because they recognize finally in a very real and concrete way that poop, it just hit the fan. And there may well not be a way for this administration and this president to recover from what has been exposed literally in the last handful of days. They're going to do their level best to hang on to their base, to hang on to what they think they can hang on to hang on to Republicans. But this is the interesting thing is, yeah. Okay. So this is the thing, right? For months, for years, people have been walking around saying, what is it going to take to get those Republicans to speak up and to speak out and to stop the insanity? I think we may have found out. Now, there are going to be the Devin Nuneses and the Jim Jordans and the Lindsey Grahams, and the Chuck Grassleys and, the Mitch McConnells probably, who, are going to continue to defend him. But more and more, you're going to see these Republicans stepping out and saying, listen, you know what? This was just such an abuse of power. It literally slaps the face of justice. And now we have to stand up because we need to kind of get on the right side of history here, because they realize that this administration is going down. And so what you have here are Republicans who are very slowly going to start muttering and mumbling about, well, this wasn't acceptable. And I mean, the language is not going to be very strong to start with, but it doesn't need to be very strong, because when it comes right down to it, it's going to be votes that matter. So Okay, so there's that. That's kind of going on the periphery, right? You've got Republicans saying, you know what? It's getting really close to the time I have to save my skin. And remember, keep this in perspective. This is like what, day 4 of the inquiry. And if I had to guess, I would say things are moving so fast. I want to say that by time 2020 starts, this thing should either be ready to go for a final vote in the Senate kind of thing. I believe by sort of Christmas, the House will have completed their investigation, issued the articles of impeachment, and voted on it. So this thing is moving super fast. Emotions are really high right now. People are either really excited or really pleased because they have finally found a way to rein in this man. He is so out of control. He is a danger every single day. And people who have been worried and scared about his behavior and what might happen are just saying, like, thank God, let's just stay focused, do what we have to do, get this thing before the people, keep the energy up and direct it our way, and let's move this thing forward. So I expect that, as Christmas and New Year roll around, everybody should be in a much different situation than they are. The 2 readings that I did that did not record with any voice, I don't remember a lot of what I said in those readings, but I consistently did say the time between like now and US Thanksgiving is going to be busy. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on, and with every day there's movement towards like resolution. So, that's a good thing, right? That's what we want to hear. So now, so that was interesting. That sort of told us about the energy surrounding, almost like the Republicans. And so for some reason, I've been thinking a lot about the Wizard of Oz lately. Maybe because of the whole, naked Oz in his underwear behind the magic curtain, which, is Trump. The emperor had no clothes. But what I've actually been picking up are the phrases, if he only had courage to stand up and actually behave like a man in a position of power instead of an entitled moron. If he only had a heart and could see his way clear to not be threatened by everything and everybody that is not white and English and supporting him. And if he only had a brain. If he only had a brain. Donald, Melania, Trump. Donald, Melania, Trump. Donald, Melania, Trump. They do not understand. They literally do not understand that this is not going to turn out well for them. The family, those immediately surrounding Trump, are in a very, very precarious position because on the one hand, the writing is on the wall and they can see the writing on the wall. On the other hand, there is the realization that if they push too hard to get Trump to actually recognize the severity of what is going on, he would implode and become kind of even more dangerous. So they're in this strange little place where in some ways they're trying to, cushion the blows and soften the news. And what that's doing is it's giving him a false sense of hope that he can again kind of convince the world, convince the country that they're not seeing and hearing what they're seeing and hearing. He still thinks that he's enough of a showman, enough of a salesman, that he can just bring this thing into line. He has no understanding of the dangerous position he's in. He doesn't understand the infighting that's going on around him. He thinks that kind of scrapping and squabbling that's going on is a good thing because, of course, he is President Chaos. So he loves all of this hysteria that's going on behind the scenes. What he hasn't figured out yet is that hysteria is going to bring him down. That is what is going to break his heart. And the family, so not only Melania, but the kids, particularly, the Kushners and Don Jr. They really are in that same kind of parent-child trap or spouse-to-spouse trap that they're always in, which is you can't tell him the truth. You can't tell him the facts. He can't stand the truth and the facts because he is so thin-skinned that everything just sends him off. So this is going to continue to evolve. There is going to be more and more stuff that comes out. There's going to be sort of a little bit of pushback against providing information, documentation, etc. But now that his lawyers, hopefully, are making him understand that, every time you say no, that creates another article of impeachment called contempt of Congress. So maybe you shouldn't do that. So I think that more and more stuff is going to come out, and as it does, he's not, he's just not going to be able to handle it. It's coming. Justice is coming. It's a loss. It's a disappointment. It is a broken heart. But irregardless of all that, the bottom line is it is what it is. So Melania and the kids see the writing on the wall, are trying very gently to let Trump know that, really this isn't good and maybe you need to pull back. And but again, when it comes right down to it, there are no profiles and courage in that family. There's just not. What there is in that family is profiles of greed, profiles of bullying, abuse, cruelty, selfishness, but no courage. So there we have that. Let's take a look at what's actually going on in the White House. All right, so Trump administration, White House, Trump administration, White House, Trump administration, White House. And I, in particular, am looking for some insights into Trump's current frame of mind, his current behavior, what is going on behind the scenes as things start to get more serious and more serious, and he actually starts to absorb the fact that, oops, I could have gone too far. In some ways, and this is going to be part of what absolutely brings him down, because in some ways, he honestly does not understand why what he was doing to Ukraine, or in fact the deal he had with Russia, he just doesn't understand why it's such a bad thing. Like, I'm serious. He actually doesn't get it. He considers it minor. He considers it the appropriate way to do business. He has operated for 50 plus years as a bully. It works for him. And he honestly doesn't get why this is such a big, hairy deal. He doesn't get it. It's just as simple as that. And so the people around him are sort of not only trying to explain to him the fact that, you know what, you're really in a lot of trouble, but they also are trying to get him to understand that what he did and how he did it is not acceptable. It is not within the law. It is not within the Constitution. It is not within accepted behavior of a U.S. president. And I swear to you, he doesn't get it. He thinks they're like being a bunch of drama queens, okay? And it's making him annoyed, and it's making him angry, and as far as he's concerned, he was just doing business the way he's always done business. And what on earth is the big hairy deal about this, for God's sakes, people? Just make it go away. All of you need to be my Roy Cohn, and you just make all this disappear, because how dare anybody tell me what to do or how to be president/king? He doesn't get it. So, emotions all over the map. Increased anger, temper, substance abuse, an increased sense of needing to push back, get more aggressive, be badder. You know, that's his deal, right? If in doubt, behave like a street thug. And so that's what he's doing his level best to do. And all these people around him are trying to rein him in and make him behave, and he doesn't like that. And so he's pushing back against that. Some things he does recognize. Okay, because he's about, you know, the image of things, the way things look, the way they're presented. He's kind of starting to clue into the fact that maybe what the heck is his name? Giuliani. Maybe he took a couple of missteps. Maybe that situation isn't quite going as well as they had anticipated. Here it comes. So the first thing that's going to happen as this continues to move forward is you have him becoming more and more isolated, because the more people who tell him what he doesn't want to hear, the more he is going to be yelling and screaming and banishing them from the room. And so he's going to find himself in a position where even those who he really counted on for support are not necessarily going to be there for him. That is when he is finally going to start to come to terms to the fact that, you know what, I'm in so deep, I actually cannot figure out how to get out of this, and all the king's men can't figure out how to get out of this. And down it comes. That whole presidency, that whole administration built on sand is coming down. Now, so the bottom line here is that he's going to continue to be crazier and more erratic and more volatile, and the people around him who are still in his corner and still trying to help are not going to make very much headway, in part because some of them don't know when to shut up and they keep sticking their foot into it. And in part because at some point, some of these people, and I'm talking about things like Whitehouse counsel and those kind of people who are implicated this in ways that nobody, I think, really actually expected. The DOJ, that's another one who's a huge trouble, huge. State Department, so Pompeo and Barr, trouble. Mulvaney is in trouble. Like, Giuliani is, is in so much trouble, I don't think he even knows where sunshine is anymore. And he, like Trump, pulls out that whole bravado and I'm tough and you're wrong. And now he's taken to calling people idiots and morons because, Giuliani is, of course, a man of good taste and class. So, now, I have been receiving a couple of questions about people being concerned about kind of what happens, what's going to happen in terms of the public reaction to everything that's going on here. And so this is the thing. It's actually not going to be sort of as volatile and as scary as some people think, or maybe even is the expectation. Because at some point, more, again, this is happening fast, but it's not happening at, the speed of light, okay? It's happening in a way that is fast, but more and more information is going to continue to come out. There's going to be more and more testimony. So literally day by day, week by week, the people who were not wanting to hear that story are actually going to start hearing that story, including from Fox News. I think that there is going to be a pullback in their support, including from the diehard talking heads. Maybe not yet publicly, but privately, even they are saying this is a disaster. But I do expect a little bit of pullback from Fox. So again, the very people that are stoking the flames all the time have now figured out it's time to withdraw a little bit and cool things down. So that's really, really good news. So you have the people stoking the flames are cooling down. They're pulling back. You get people who might really support him now being almost inundated on a weekly basis of more bad news and more bad news. So that's not going to go so well. So they're going to become lukewarm on him. And there's going to be such a sense of relief when he leaves that I honestly do think that there's going to be more dancing in the streets than rioting. I think that, it's going to be kind of just a better position. Things are going to be okay. And to tell you the truth, and this was the only downside about voting him out in an election. When you vote somebody out in an election, they have from, November through to January where they are still president and they are still in control. So now you would have a man who cannot handle rejection. He becomes volatile and angry and he lashes out, being rejected by America. That's actually when you need to be the most concerned about things getting out of hand or out of control. Until then, there are enough sane people, there are enough safeguards in place that there is going to be some restraint, as much as, you can, restrain a bull in a china cabinet. That's what I'm trying to say. You've got somebody who's just going to go in there and wreck everything, and ultimately it's not going to be the best strategy. Okay, so the video before this was the Canadian election. If any of you are interested and haven't seen that, that's the video that just went out before this one. I, again, will be taking the weekend off. I will, of course, hop back on in a New York minute if anything incredibly insane happens, and frankly, I'm kind of expecting it to. So thank you so much for your support. I just am humbled by all of you. It's really brilliant. Thank you. So take care. Be well. And I'll see you real soon. Bye.